I run it. Everything you wanna do, I already done it. And I got your little boo telling me she love me. I got this one, that one, damn, it's gonna be a long night.
Hello guys, what is up? It is me, Prince of What Ifs, and I'm back here with another video. But I do have one thing to say. As you can notice by the sound, I'm not using the new mic. I do have it though, but how it's looking right now, I will only be able to record well with a computer, because there's nothing like on my phone that makes it sound like actually good, and it's pissing me off. So it will be a while until I get to use the mic. I'm sorry about that. But I still want to record a video. There's a reason why I took so long to make the video. It's because I was trying to test out the mic every day just to record something good. I came close to yesterday. I was going to post the next day, which was supposed to be today or yesterday, because I'm going to post it today. But yeah, things got confusing. Anyway, let's get right into the video. I don't want to waste y'all time. But first, I want to thank Dark King of What Ifs. He made my avatar. I think it looks pretty nice, so go check him out. His link is in the description. Also, thanks to the man who thought of this what if. His name was Glime. He changed his name so I couldn't find him. Thanks for giving me this idea. We actually worked on it together. We kind of worked out how to use his powers and all that. And his link will also be in the description. Just show him some love, or at least just thank him in the comments. And also, about what if Naruto had spiral powers. That one is a weird situation. I thought you guys loved it because, look at the views. This thing got 1K in 4 days. That's probably the fastest we've gotten the video to 1K. So I'm confused about why, but I will be postponing it. I won't cancel it. I'll postpone it until after I finish the new what if that I have showed you guys on the community channel, which is what if Naruto had erasure. I'm definitely not stopping that one. But since that was supposed to be my new what if, or it was supposed to be what if Naruto had erasure, and you guys didn't want that what if to continue, I'll just do the other one that I showed you. Yeah, that was really confusing. I'm not gonna stop wasting your time. It's 1 hour special, 2K special. Sorry for it being so late, but y'all are subscribing faster than I can actually set up stuff for celebration and all that. Anyway, let's get into the story. Now, Izuku, when growing up, was a very quiet kid who never really aspired for anything because he felt it wouldn't matter. In a world where only a certain amount of people get a strong power, what if he aims too high and fails? This thought always ran through his mind when he saw heroes like All Might on TV, smashing through villains and saving others. Izuku says, "Man, I wish I could be that awesome." Izuku was born never to see his dad, but being more logical than a normal kid, he understood what was going on, and he accepted it because he didn't need a dad to be a happy kid. He had his loving mother and his computer. Izuku always found comfort in lying in front of a computer and editing things or hacking into places for his own benefit. He never realized this, but he was a genius adept at coding and programming. But to him, it was just messing around on his computer and sometimes even trolling jerks on the internet that he didn't like. He sometimes even uploaded videos on YouTube and reached 2K subscribers. He did animation videos, which is pretty easy for someone like him. And he got paid a bit of money just being about 3 years old. This impressed Inko, as her child had found a good way to express himself because he was so shy. However, she did worry for his health, as he always looked a little tired, actually getting dark circles under his eyes. Realizing how much this worried Inko, Izuku trained his body to stay healthy. However, he soon realized that the dark circles would not disappear, so he stopped caring about them and just continued to do what he loved. Everything was great. That is until he had to face his greatest challenge, school, and he was terrified. As a seasoned introvert, Izuku doesn't like talking to others besides his mom, so Inko allowed him to bring his tablet and phone to school because she wants to respect what he wants for now until things get too bad, and she's actually forced to intervene. And we're gonna go to the first day of school. Izuku steps out of his car and is sweating a bit. Inko, seeing this, comes up behind him and yells out, "Boo." Izuku then says, "Oh, what the f-" He covers his mouth in embarrassment. Inko, kneeling down, said, "Izuku, I know it's hard, but you can't always be at home, okay? You have to spend time with people your own age." Izuku then says, "But what if no one likes me? I never talk with people my own age." Inko then says, "Everyone in that school is just as scared as you are. And you'll do fine, just be polite. Besides, if they do anything to you, they'll hear from me." Izuku then laughs as he says, "Thanks, Mom. I feel much better now." Inko then says, "Also, what did I tell you about not saying bad words?" Izuku then ran away really fast into the school, asked to get away from his mom's scolding, and said bye to her with a big smile on his face. Inko smiled and then left in the car as Izuku enters the establishment and found his class. Before he entered, he calmed himself down, but he gets nervous again as everyone in the class stared at him when he opened the door. But he quickly regained his confidence and the teacher saw his profile and told him to introduce himself to the class. Izuku then says, "My name is Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you all." He then sat down and was greeted by a very peppy kid named Bakugou who says hi to him, and he says hi back. He looks like a nice kid. Now, as the years progressed, Izuku did isolate himself from everyone, and during recess would be on his phone, unlike other kids who actually envied him because he had a phone to begin with. Bakugou, however, only got even more popular and was followed by students who liked how outgoing he was. By the age of 5, Bakugou went to the doctor the day before and started to show off his quirk to his friends, and this also brought in a few teachers from other classes, as well as other students from other classes who were, interested. Bakugou is now firing explosions from the palm of his hands, and everyone is very impressed. One teacher then says, "Wow, you're gonna be a great hero, Bakugou." Now, what does Izuku think of this? Izuku, looking at his quirk, does think it's powerful, but he also thinks that it's very dangerous as it could hurt people if he can't control himself. But he was still interested in Bakugou's quirk, and this is when his eyes glowed bright turquoise. Everyone noticed this and they turned around to see Izuku. Izuku then closed his eyes, being a bit surprised, and when he opened them, all he saw was codes, a bunch of ones and zeros. It was like when he's on his computer. He then sees a bunch of light just rush into his head as he drops to the ground. The teacher, seeing this, run over to help him, asking if he was okay, and Izuku says, "Yeah, I'm fine. I think I just got my quirk." The class is surprised at this, and all the teachers call in Inko. She takes Izuku to the doctor, but little did Izuku know, Bakugou was clenching his fist in frustration. Bakugou saying, "Are you kidding me? Making a big deal about his eyes glowing? Well, his quirk won't be better than mine, I promise." Now we're gonna go to the testing room in the hospital, and Izuku and Inko are in the room full of doctors right now, and the doctor says, "So kid, tell me what happened the first time your quirk activated." Izuku then says, "When it happened, I saw a bunch of ones and zeros, and then a bunch of weird stuff went in my brain." As he says this, it happened again, and his eyes grew green this time, but this time he didn't drop to the ground. The doctor then asked what just happened, and Izuku said that he knows what his quirk is, as well as what his classmates are gonna get, and what his teachers have or do not have. Some of them, they're quirkless. The doctor then says, "What? That's impossible." Inko then says, "Is there something wrong?" The doctor then calmed down and said there was nothing wrong, but her son's quirk might potentially be very powerful. Inko is very happy and hugs Izuku, who is blushing and is filled with excitement for the first time in his life. They get to testing him, and since Izuku said he knew what his quirk was, he led the experiment. First thing Izuku asks is for the doctor to let him touch his forehead, and the confused doctor does so. He then touches him and his eyes glow green, and now he can see what the man's quirk is in a sea of data. And it's the ability to control Earth, but only little stones can pop out of the Earth to hit others. Izuku then says, "Sorry, but your quirk is kinda weak." The doctor gets a little sad as Izuku says, "Don't worry, I think I can fix it." In a moment, the man feels a surge of power, and he asks Izuku what he just did, and Izuku said he just made his quirk so good that he could probably become a hero now. Everyone in the room is shocked, they can't believe him. Izuku then says, "Fine, imagine a gauntlet around your arm." The man does so and he manipulates the earth into a gauntlet on his arms, and he is impressed and amazed, and in fact starts crying, because in this sort of society, he was deemed useless and he had to become a doctor, giving up on his dreams, but now he was happy he took the job. Izuku then says, "Now you can basically make and do anything with Earth, but be careful, you're gonna get a lot of muscle cramps if you go too far." The doctor then says, "Thank you so much, kid, I really owe you a lot." The rest of the experiments then continue, and overall, Izuku can manipulate a person's body like hacking into a source of a website and messing with it. But he doesn't mess up a body, he in fact actually enhances it however he wants, and he can enhance his own. This means that he could potentially give people quirks. The reason why that is because he can alter bodies, meaning he could also manipulate the quirk gene as he sees fit. He manipulates everything in the body, including DNA. Inko and Izuku are amazed and they thank the doctors a lot. However, For Izuku's safety, of course, everything was kept confidential. We're gonna go back to the school and the classroom the next day, and everyone surrounds Izuku, asking what his quirk was. And since he was the second kid to get a quirk, they were very excited to hear about what he got. Izuku didn't tell them that he could potentially give people quirks, he just said that he could enhance someone no matter how much he wanted, and also enhance himself, and he said there was no limit to it. Bakugou didn't believe him at all, and a lot of students didn't either. Bakugou then says, "Don't lie to us, you weirdo. You obviously just want some attention." Izuku then says, "No, I'm not lying. Why would I?" Before he can even finish the sentence, Bakugou gets mad for some reason and launches at Izuku with an explosion, just a bunch of explosions. One of the teachers tried to stop Bakugou and he got burned slightly. Bakugou didn't notice this, but unfortunately for him, Izuku did, and so did every other kid in the classroom. Just as he was about to hit Izuku, his explosions vanished and he sees Izuku's muscles tense up, and in a moment he's punched in the face, slamming into the ground. Izuku just enhanced his strength without knowing, but one thing he didn't intend to do was to make Bakugou's quirk gene dormant, and it worked. Izuku then says, "If you want to be a hero, fix your attitude first." Bakugou starts crying in fear, and also because his shoulder got dislocated from using huge explosions, and he says, "What did you do to my quirk?" Izuku gets even more mad, but realizes that what he says won't change anything. This kid is so obsessed with his quirk, he didn't even notice that he heard a teacher who was praising him before. Izuku then says, "I erased it for a bit." Some of the students were scared while some were amazed. There's fear in the unknown, and since they're just kids, most of them didn't know what to think of this. But they would have been even more scared to hear that Izuku could actually permanently cancel out the quirk gene if he felt like it. But he didn't want to be thought of as dangerous, so he lied. That day, Inko was called back to school once again, and so was Mitsuki, who scolded Bakugou and also begged the school to just let this incident pass. And they did, because Bakugou had a powerful quirk. Izuku, who saw that someone like Bakugou wouldn't get punished for what he did, got mad. This gave Izuku a whole new perspective of the society he lived in. As long as you have a strong quirk, people just don't care what you do. Izuku was in the same room watching a principal trying to cover up something like this instead of just punishing a student like normal. We're gonna time skip 10 years. Izuku had to go back to the doctor to get his quirk retested because he actually found out he could also change a person's features as well as give them a lot more boosts. He also created a quirk for himself called Empower. This quirk would boost his cognitive and physical abilities by 50%, making him as strong as a 50% All Might, like using One for All. And that was as soon as he created it. But he later on physically trained and also permanently changed his body to be able to handle the power. He also just made himself 6 feet tall because he wanted to know what it felt like. And now if he receives One for All, he would be able to handle 100% of its power, no problem. In many ways, Izuku resembled a kid All Might, but just a little bit more quiet. His strength, intelligence, and tactical abilities were peerless. However, pretty soon, word started to get out about Izuku being able to potentially gift quirks. Some people would even show up to his door, asking him just to give them a quirk, and this worried Inko because they looked at her son as if he owed them something. Eventually, UA took notice of this and stepped in to put Izuku under their protection. They even guaranteed his entrance into UA. Izuku got to even train with some heroes, as well as now his favorite hero, Eraserhead. And they talked, when they talked sometimes people thought they looked like family. Even the way they talked was similar. Him and Aizawa built a strong bond, and he grew to like him as if he were a father. Matter of fact, Aizawa actually visited Izuku a lot, and being around Inko, he loosened up a bit. And Inko never lost her figure. Also, Izuku denied requests to people who wanted quirks because they were completely not aware of how dangerous it is to actually be a hero. Plus, many of them had pretty good lives, so he found it annoying that they wanted powers just because they thought it would be cool. However, he did decide that he would give a quirk to someone or enhance someone if he assessed their personality and intentions. But he hasn't done that yet because he has found no reason to. He is considering enhancing Inko though. Matter of fact, he's been considering it for years, but she won't agree because she feels like she's taking advantage of him if she lets him do that. So he gave up on it for now anyway. He also stepped up his games and started critiquing heroes and villains on his channel. And even though he didn't show his face, he was pretty huge. And people didn't like him because he was straightforward with facts, and some people denied his facts because they rather live in this belief that the society that they were living in was perfect. But Izuku always found a way to always show the bad side of things just to be realistic because people need to know about this stuff. He reached about 1 million subscribers. I'm gonna say that just because I want to, and people like drama. I like drama. You like drama. You know, it's awesome, but it also sucks. Yeah. Sorry about that. We're gonna move on. Final day of junior high. Izuku is walking down the street on the way to school, and he was yawning when in front of him he saw a giant villain, and Kami was battling him, as well as the water hero keeping everybody safe. So he took the time to look at the villain's ability and saved it with another quirk he created called Archive. This basically kept files of different things he learned in his brain, such as quirk data, like a hard drive in his brain. And just as he was saving data on the villain, the new hero Mount Lady made her debut and started hogging attention. Izuku then says both of them had gigantification quirks. This must be the new hero Aizawa told me about. She's pretty good, but she seems obsessed with attention. He then sighs and starts running to school, and when he reached school, he went to his classroom to hear kids murmuring and talking about him, saying he looks even more tired than usual. Izuku then sat down, ignoring them, and their teacher walked in. Alright, settle down. Now I have some sheets here for job applications, for what you might want to do after school. But who cares, I know y'all want to be heroes anyway. He then proceeds to throw the sheets into the air as all the students start to use their weird quirks. This is when Bakugou would speak up as everyone then shuts up and he makes fun of them, calling them useless third rates who would get lucky to be even recruited by the lowest of the low. The teacher then mentions that Bakugou actually applied for UA, and Bakugou says, "That's right, it's my time to shine, losers. But I'll let you think you have a chance. It'll be more fun when I kick you back into the dirt. I'm warning you. You'll just make things better for yourselves if you just give up now. Especially you, Deku." Izuku says nothing concerning his comments because he doesn't care. However, this is when Bakugou starts walking towards Izuku and everyone knows what's about to happen. He slams his hands down on Izuku's desk. "If you know what's good for you, you'll stay out of UA." Izuku then blankly says, "Fuck off." And Bakugou gets mad at this and starts to spark explosions from his hands, and then he swipes up with a huge explosion that almost hit Izuku in the face. But Izuku dodged in time to punch Bakugou in the stomach, knocking him out. As Bakugou falls to the ground, one of the students then stands up saying that he'll carry him to the nurse. No matter how Bakugou sounded, he wasn't like the strongest kid in school. Izuku was. He sounded confident, but that's just normal Bakugou. Soon the day would end as Izuku packs up his stuff and then leaves, taking a shortcut under a bridge. Izuku then says, "Finally, I can get out of that annoying school." He keeps walking until he sensed something and abruptly stopped. His eyes glowed green and his mapping skill picked up something and someone lurking behind him. This quirk was made specifically because Bakugou would sneak attack him sometimes, so he designed it to allow him to see everything within a 1 mile radius, and everything around Everything in a 1 mile radius is just like a map, a digital map in his brain. He can also sense ill intent and malevolence. Izuku then says, "Come out, I know you're there." The sludge would then come out of the sewers behind him. "Hey kid, I'm kind of in trouble. Lend me your body real quick, alright?" Izuku dropped his backpack to the ground, cracking his knuckles, as well as cracking a huge smile. This irritated the villain, who launched at him head on. The sludge then says, "Well, aren't you cocky?" Izuku then says, "Finally, something interesting." He pulls back his fist and punches at the sludge. The sludge was confused because nothing happened. "The hell was that, kid? Are you really that desperate?" Then all of a sudden he starts to feel piercing pain and he screamed as he felt what would be his flesh ripping off until he finally explodes everywhere. Izuku then looking at this says, "Damn it! I thought I finally found something interesting." At this moment, All Might landed just in time to feel the shock wave created by Izuku's punch. After the wind passed, he saw a young man and figured that he must have taken care of the villain. All Might then says, "Nice work, kid, but you shouldn't have used your quirk." Izuku then saw All Might and said nothing as he started to walk away after picking up his backpack, acting as if he didn't even notice him. All Might then says, "Wait, I have a question." "Aren't you reaching your time limit, old man?" says Izuku, obviously annoyed. All Might is shocked at this comment, but before he could ask Izuku about it, he was already running away. All Might then quickly puts the sludge in some soda bottles and was thinking to himself, who was that kid? How does he know about my time limit? Is he maybe... No, I must be going crazy. All Might then starts running out of the bridge and leaps into the air as we cut to Izuku, who just arrived at his house. He used the money that he gained from YouTube to rent an actual house, and by Inko's recommendation, they live near a mountain far away from the city. He enters as he sees his mom reading and sneaks up behind her, giving her a hug. She was surprised and then calmed down and says, "Oh, it's just you. Stop doing that, my old heart can't handle these scares." Izuku then says, "What are you talking about? You look better than most teenagers, mom." She blushes a bit and thanks Izuku, who kisses her on the forehead, and then he starts walking to his room when Inko asks, by the way, did anything exciting happen today?" Izuku then says, "Not really. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna be sleeping for a bit. Come wake me up or call me downstairs if you need me." He then goes up to his room and goes to sleep. Inko then says, "He looks so out of it. Hopefully going to UA will change his attitude." When he wakes up, Izuku is still in his school uniform because he was too lazy to take it off, and he gets off his bed and thought that he might just start designing his hero costume right now just to save time. He then starts up a sketch of his costume for a bit, and then Inko calls him down for dinner, and him and Inko talk for a bit about their day, and Izuku brings up something important. "Mom, can you just let me enhance you?" Inko then says, "Izuku, we've talked about this." Izuku then says, "Yeah, but it doesn't change the fact that this world is dangerous. Even if UA is protecting us, even they can completely stop all rumors from spreading." Inko then says, "Well, nothing bad's happened for 10 years. I think they're doing a pretty good job." Izuku then says, "Yeah, for now. What if villains find out about me soon? I can guarantee that I can protect myself, but you can't, and I can't always be there." Hearing this worries Inko, and after all these years, she never thought of this possibility, because no matter how much UA tries to cover things up, word does get out, and soon villains could find out about her son. Inko then says, "Do you think it's really the best idea?" Izuku then says, "Yes! I don't want you to leave me all alone. I already lost Dad. You are the only person I can't live without. Please." Izuku reaches out his hands as she smiles and grabs his hand, and Izuku then starts the process of enhancing her. For him to be able to change someone, all he needs is physical contact, and he's allowed to start messing with the Quirk gene. He increases her power and stamina so she can handle the output of her upgrade, and then he lightens her drawbacks by a lot, making them practically non-existent. Inko feels a huge surge of power, and now her Quirk has evolved to full-on telekinesis. This surge of power starts to shake the house a bit, and the windows of the house let out a huge flash of green light. Then Izuku stops the process as Inko starts panting. "So what happened?" Izuku then says, "Now you can levitate anything no matter how heavy, so you can always keep yourself safe. Even if it's someone as strong as All Might, even he can't fight your hold." Inko is shocked at this, and they spend the rest of the night talking about how she should control herself because she just got her upgrade and, she might mess up a little bit. Soon night falls and they both go to sleep, with Izuku feeling much more relieved. Izuku then says, "I wonder if she'll want to be a hero after this." He then dozes off, and when he wakes up, he has 10 months before the entrance exams actually start, and it was pretty early in the morning, but he hears some noise downstairs, so he goes to the kitchen to see Inko actually making breakfast with her telekinesis. Izuku was surprised at how fast she was adapting and wondered if his mom was a genius or if he was just that good. Then he ate breakfast and went to the Goba Beach to pick up some things because he was going to make a weapon for himself as well. However, when he arrived at the Goba Beach, he quickly hid because he saw All Might and some other kid. Izuku then says, "What do I keep meeting this guy lately? Well, I can just come back another time, but this might get bothersome, but also interesting. Who thought the #1 hero would pick a successor? There's no way he just randomly took this kid here so early. He must be trying to avoid suspicions and reporters. And that kid is pretty damn well built, but I can't see his quirk from this distance. Well, no matter what his quirk is, what's more important is what All Might's quirk will do when he gives it to him. A quirk that can be transferred." Okay, I have to stop rambling on like that. I'll just have to wait to see what happens, but I wonder if I should create a quirk that can be transferred. That'd be pretty cool. Time skip 10 months after, and it's time for the entrance exams. Of course, Izuku finished his weapon and it is currently disguised as a bracelet on his right arm, and he arrives at the gates of UA and walks through heading inside. Whew, it's finally time to take you for a test drive, says Izuku. He looks at his weapon and then enters the school, and on the way, Bakugou, who just arrived as well, just saw Izuku and tried to bump into him by accident. But Izuku dodged to the side, causing Bakugou to fall forward. A girl walking by saw this and was about to run over to help, but Bakugou just uses a bit of his explosions to push himself forward and land in front of Izuku. Damn nerd, why did you dodge? Says Bakugou furious. Everyone walking in sees this, and Izuku, not wanting to make a scene, just ignores him, leaving Bakugou to look like a crazy delinquent. And that girl who tried to help Bakugou was named Ochako Uraraka, and she was left just standing there like in confusion. We're gonna go to the auditorium, and President Mike is explaining the rules of the exams as Izuku proceeds to work on his gauntlet, making a bit of noise. Ida then stands up telling him to pay attention, so Izuku does, apologizing. This makes everyone think that he's weak for giving in so easily, but he could care less. And Bakugou then thinks, he could easily just shut that guy up. Why did he? Freaking weirdo. After this, everyone took the written exams and then got ready for the practical exam, and they all rallied to the gates and are waiting for the signal. Izuku is stretching a bit and can't wait to fight since he actually knows a bit about how the test is gonna go. But then he notices one person out of the rest who just looks really nervous. She was a girl. Izuku then says, she's not gonna survive if she keeps shaking like that. He starts walking over, hoping to comfort her when he feels a presence and instinctively elbows who was behind him. This person was Ida, and he just fell to the ground, almost puking. Ida then thinks, what the hell? This kid does not hold back. Izuku then says, oh, it's you again. What's up? Ida then says, you were about to sabotage that girl, weren't you? Izuku raises an eyebrow to this because he legit doesn't know what this kid is trying to do, but he just backs off once again, and Ida says, yeah, you better not try anything. And aren't you gonna apologize? Izuku then ignores him, and this makes Ida mad, and he stands up only to realize that this kid is actually pretty buff and actually taller than him. At this point, the gates start opening, and in an instant, Izuku disappears, breaking the gates open and rushing out after a two-pointer. Nobody saw anything but a green flash, and they were pushed back by the sheer force of his power. Izuku then activates his gauntlet, and a metallic glove starts wrapping around his arm as he slams a punch into the robot's torso, blowing it into other robots behind it. Everyone was left in shock, and he didn't even wait for the signal. President Mike then says, what are you waiting for? There's no hesitation on the front lines. Follow that kid. Go, go, go! Ida then says, he's faster than I am. Who the hell is this guy? At this point, everyone, including Ida, rush out as they just start, getting some points too. And this time, Bakugou isn't in that section, which makes Izuku much happier because he hates having to deal with him constantly screaming for no reason. He'd rather literally beat up metallic like robots, destroy robots than hear his voice. He goes on destroying robots with kicks, punches, and even ripping the metallic heads off with a calm expression. All the teachers watching from above are impressed at how much he has, grown, because they did train him and they feel a little proud. Aizawa then says he really didn't have to do this. We sent him a recommendation. All Might then says, you know him? Aizawa says, yeah. All Might then says, is that the kid that UA is training personally? Nezu then cuts in saying, yes he is, and I think he just got even more interesting. Can you show me his slip for that weapon? Aizawa then shows him the sheet of paper, and then Nezu smirks. Izuku soon has over 200 points, and he knew exactly how many he had because he counted every single time he destroyed a robot because it was just fun. But then he stops hogging the points because he wants to let everyone get their share, and for a while he kept just aimlessly walking around when all of a sudden he feels a thump and the ground starts to shake. A bunch of people start running back to the gates, creating a huge ruckus. Nezu then says, what will you do, Izuku Midoriya? Izuku was about to run as well when he saw the girl he tried to talk to before. She was trapped under some rocks and she seemed too weak to escape. In that moment, his legs moved before he could think. He proceeded to run on the side of a building heading for the huge robot. Others are saying that no matter how strong he might be, that's just suicide, and they're yelling at him to come back down. Izuku then enhances his voice with Empower and says, Stop whining, jeez. He then jumps off the building, flying towards the robot, and this takes the robot by surprise and it takes a step back while swinging at him. Izuku manages to land on the robot instead of taking its swing and maneuvers perfectly, giving him enough momentum to then jump off the arm and then using power at 70% to kick it back, just like slamming it into the ground. Izuku then says, "Good, I think I got him away from the girl." The 0-pointer landed down with a huge ass thump, like the buildings freaking shook, everything shook. And the good thing is nobody was crushed because Izuku distracted the robot long enough for everyone to make it to the gates. And now he was gonna do the, finishing blow and finish off the enemy. And Izuku took the chance to run across its body and punch it in its core, and then violently kept ripping out its cords and destroying it more and more until it completely shut down. Everyone, including the teachers, were shocked. The robot stopped moving. It seemed that Izuku did it. He stopped the massive robot. All Might then says, "That kid's a monster." Izuku then gets off the 0-pointer saying, I wish every day could be like this. Then he goes to help Uraraka from under the rubble and he notices, oh, she's out cold. He then starts walking out of the dust cloud created by the battle and everyone starts cheering. The cheering wakes up Uraraka, who blushes when she sees Izuku. Izuku then says, can you walk? Uraraka says, probably not, my legs feel numb. This is when Recovery Girl walks out from the crowd with people making way for her and she's handing out candy because, classic Recovery Girl. And she sees Izuku. Oh, Izuku, is that you? Izuku then says, it is, how you been? Recovery Girl then says, pretty good, how's your mother? Izuku then says, she's doing amazing. Oh, and this girl needs healing. Recovery Girl then says, oh, alright, thanks, can you lay it down for me? Izuku does so, and when he looks at Uraraka getting healed, he decides that he has something to do, something important. He then quickly runs away and through the crowd heading for where Nezu is. And everyone is wondering who that kid is and why he talks to a hero like Recovery Girl as if it was nothing. Now Izuku is in the building and is allowed into the room where the heroes are watching everything, and he asks if he can give some of his points to the girl he saved. Nezu then says, yeah, that's fine, but we need to talk about that thing on your arm. I'm thinking of putting you in the support class for class 1H. Izuku then says, am I allowed to do that? Nezu then says, we could use your skills. And I know we keep asking a lot out of you, but Izuku then says, I get it, it's fine. That'll be fun, just please honor my request. Nezu of course agrees and guarantees that she'll make it into UA. Then, feeling satisfied, Izuku excuses himself, but then he stops. And he looks back. Oh, by the way, Aizawa, mom is wondering if you can come over soon. She's making your favorite dish. Aizawa then says, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. We can also take time to train after that. Izuku then smiles and then leaves with some of the other heroes in the room feeling down that Izuku didn't talk to them. Vlad King was also in there and says, I guess you're still a favorite, huh? Everyone starts laughing as All Might says, he looks a bit rough around the edges, but he's a nice kid, isn't he? Nezu then says, yeah, indeed. All Might then thinks, he's definitely that kid I met before. To think that he turned out to be this amazing. No wonder he easily took down that villain. Izuku Midoriya, is it? Izuku was on his way home when he suddenly sneezed for no reason and he thought, those guys are probably talking about me, aren't they? Then we go to Izuku when he wakes up and it was pretty late in the day, it was the next day. And he heard Inko calling him down, so he gets dressed and goes downstairs to see Aizawa. Inko then says, good morning honey, Aizawa's here. Aizawa then sees Izuku and says, yeah, sorry for being late. Izuku then says, don't worry, I literally just woke up. Then Izuku quickly eats breakfast and they go to spar in the backyard of their house, which was actually pretty huge since they lived near the woods. Inko watching them spar says, well, I can't say I like that this is what makes him happy, but it's a good thing that he's strong. As she says this, Izuku can control himself and send Aizawa flying, and Inko says, Izuku, come here right this second. Oh, and go help Aizawa. Now we're gonna go to the first day at UA. Izuku came to school early so he could meet the support class teacher early before anybody, was there. And Power Litter welcomed him and said that he could come in between lunch and after school to get some experience in. Power Litter also said, I'm sure you'll do great, kid. I heard what you made. I hope you can show it to me after school. Izuku then says, I don't deserve the praise, but thanks. I promise I'll come back soon. He then goes to leave when a girl with pink hair runs by him, and she seemed really hyped to go somewhere. She was filled with the same excitement that he wished he could show all the time. Then he stops staring at her because it's creepy and goes to his class, Class 1A. Izuku then says, why did they make the door like this? Is it really believable that a kid could be that huge? He then opens the door to see Ida and just ignores him to go sit down, and it was pretty early, so he didn't want to talk to him, but it's hard to avoid that type of thing when they're the only ones in class right now. Just as he was dozing off, Ida starts walking towards him, and Izuku was fearing the worst. He just expects Ida to annoy him again, but to his surprise, Ida introduces himself and actually apologizes for bothering him so much. He then calls him a better student than him for figuring out the secret to the test, and Izuku says, Ida, was it? I'm really lazy. I don't deserve to be called a good student. I just rushed in like an idiot because I couldn't let people die. But I accept your apology, so loosen up a little bit. By the way, my name's Izuku Midoriya. Then they shake hands and start all over as they talk a bit, and soon students start to enter the class. They see Izuku and get hyped to be in the same class as him, and then Bakugou walks in and everyone can just feel how mad he is. He sits down in front, putting his feet on the desk, and Ida was about to say something, but Izuku stops him, telling him to relax, and he does so. Then Uraraka walks in, hoping to see the guy who saved her, and when she does see him, she runs over and shaking his hand like really fast. Thank you so much. I heard about what you did for me. I owe you a lot. Seriously. Izuku, while blushing, and says, it's nothing, just call me Izuku. What's your name? And then she introduces herself, and Bakugou, seeing this, scoffs at how everyone just naturally goes to Izuku instead of him, and this is when everyone sees a guy in a sleeping bag. Mineta then says, is that a freaking caterpillar? Izuku then says, nope, that's our homeroom teacher. Everyone who hears this shouts in confusion, and Aizawa says, calm down. I'm your homeroom teacher, Mr. Aizawa, and today we will be assessing your quirks. And word to the wise, don't test my temper. He flashes his eyes as everyone gets scared and they stop talking and sit down, And Ochako says, excuse me, sir, but don't we have orientation? We're gonna miss it. Aizawa then says, so what? You're just going to a place to be told how great you are. To me, you're just students, nothing special. Besides, this school isn't junior high. I'm allowed to make my students do whatever I want. UA doesn't have strict traditions. Then he pushes the button on a remote, making suitcases pop out of the wall behind them, and he tells them to take them and get changed and go outside. Aizawa then says, Izuku, show them to the locker rooms. I need to go water my eyes. Izuku does as he says, and he shows the girls their locker rooms first, and then brings the boys to the locker rooms. And we're gonna go to the boys' locker room. Everyone is changing as Ida asks about what his relationship with Aizawa is, and Izuku says, I guess you could say he's like a father figure. I've known him for most of my childhood. Kaminara then says, has he always been that edgy? Izuku then says, around me and my mom, his attitude always becomes lax, and he's really nice when you get to know him. Kirishima then says, that's really hard to believe, man. Everyone envisions a nice Aizawa and just can't accept it. Sato then says, forget about that for a moment. How did you get so strong, man? Also, what's with the dark circles under your eyes? Is it for flair or something? Izuku then says, oh, the dark circles are real and they won't leave. They're kind of permanent for now, so. And for how I got so strong, I guess you could say my quirk is like a cheat. Bakugou then says, what, did you do drugs just so you could beat me, Deku? Izuku then says, no, there's a reason why I never told you what my quirk is. As soon as he says this, he was finished putting on his uniform and then left first. Everyone was thinking that this dude is hiding so many things, but to them, it just looks like he has a super strength quirk. What exactly could he be hiding? When he got outside, Izuku saw Uraraka and they started to talk about how awesome it's going to be for their first day, and more students start to come out until Aizawa also arrives. Aizawa then says, alright, you've been doing regulated tests for most of your lives, but this time, like I said, you can use your quirks as much as you want. We're testing your quirks. Everyone gets excited and saying like this is going to be fun and awesome, and Izuku realizes what's about to happen. Izuku then says, no, don't. All of a sudden, Aizawa starts to smile in the devilish way, and he says, oh really? Then how about this? If any of you get last place, then I'll expel you. Izuku then facepalms as Uraraka says, but that's not fair, we just got here. It's the first day. Aizawa then says, oh, well, you think natural disasters are fair? Or freak accidents? Or mentally insane villains? No, the world is full of unfairness. It's a hero's job to combat that unfairness. The fact that you made it here at all was all pure luck, so it's time for you to actually prove you deserve to be in this class. Everyone is confused by this, but Uraraka and Izuku definitely knew what he was talking about. The only reason she got him was because Izuku gave her his points, so she grits her teeth as she says, I won't let you down. Aizawa smiles once again as he hands the ball to Izuku, and he says, now since you got first place, show me what you got. And if you hold back, so God help me, I will expel you. Izuku then says, don't worry, I won't. Everyone is wondering how he's gonna do, as when he launches the ball with his quirk, it pushes back everyone due to the mere wind pressure created by his power. Aizawa then says, well, 2000, I think that's a new record, kid, if you don't count All Might. Everyone's jaws just drop and they're amazed as they just start cheering, and this is when Bakugou gets mad and starts sparking explosions in his hands, and he rushes for Izuku, or Deku as he calls him. Bakugou then says, damn it, Deku, stop hogging all the attention! Aizawa then cancels out his quirk, restricting him with the scarf, and Bakugou is struggling to get out as he sees Izuku just with a blank look. And Aizawa says, what you just did is considered attempted assault. Are you sure you're trying to be a hero, kid, or should I just expel you right now? His eyes flash red as all the students get scared, and Bakugou then calms down, and Aizawa removes his scarf, and then he tells everyone to do the test and to just give it their best, or they'll be expelled. So everyone does their individual stuff on their own time, like jumping test, which Izuku gets first place in by using Empower. Then grip strength, he crushes the machine, making people wonder if he was even human. And then he lined up for racing, and his opponent was Ida, and he beat him, finishing the race in 2 seconds, severely crushing Ida's pride. But then Izuku put out his hand to shake his, as he said that one day Ida will be faster than he is. Ida then takes up the challenge and shakes his hand, thanking him for the encouragement. Then the others do the ball throwing, with Uraraka getting infinity, and Bakugou getting around 700 meters while yelling die as he launched the ball, which once again only made people think that he was even weirder. Like seriously, why does he always say that? Soon all the tests are done, and expectedly Izuku got first place, and Aizawa said, oh, by the way, that expelling stuff wasn't real, it was just a logical ruse to make you try more. Everyone sighs in relief, especially Invisible Girl, since she didn't do that good, but of course everyone was also mad considering how he's been scaring them since they got here. And then everyone is then told to go back to change and then get ready to leave. However, instead of leaving, Izuku goes straight to support class, which confused everyone. Hiroshima then says, dude, why are you going that way? The way out is this way. Izuku then says, oh, I have extra classes for today. Ida then says, I expected no less from you, Midoriya. We now skip to Izuku going to meet Power Loader, and there he saw the same girl, and the same girl that he saw, which was Mei Hatsume. And this time when he entered the classroom, she had already caused a bit of an explosion, and Power Loader was already scolding her. It was already her first day and she was still messing things up. Hatsume then notices Izuku and rushes over to him and starts invading his personal space. Izuku then says, could you please stop? I have to get to work. Also, you haven't even introduced yourself yet. Hatsume then says, I'm Mei Hatsume. Feel free to call me whatever feels comfortable. Power Loader then says, sorry about that. It's her first day as well, so try to put up with her. After this, they start to work on different things, with Mei learning more about Izuku's little gadget, and she kept showing him her own inventions, which she referred to as her babies. However, this ended pretty soon as Izuku wanted to go home since he was pretty sleepy, because he's freaking lethargic as hell. And the next day, Izuku came back to school so exhausted that he practically looked like a zombie. Ochago then says, what's wrong? You look like you had no sleep at all. Izuku then says, well, I did sleep, but only after I finished up my project. Sato then says, does it have to do with your extra classes? And Izuku says, yeah, and from what I heard, I think I'll have a chance to show it to you guys today. As he says this, All Might just bursts in the class instead of Aizawa saying, I'm walking through the door like a normal person. Izuku then thinks, normal in what way? Everyone was really happy since they thought that Yue actually lied about All Might being a teacher here, and then All Might uses the same remote as Aizawa to make the suitcases come out of the wall, but when they open them up this time, the suitcases contain their hero costumes. And Ida says, Midoriya, where's your case? Izuku then says, oh, I made my own costume. It's in my backpack. After this, everyone heads outside, and when Izuku steps out, my dude straight up looks sick as hell. Here's the picture. And Mina is just like, oh, so this is your little project? And Izuku says, yeah, I've been working on it since before Yue even started. And Uraraka says, I wish my costume was more loose like yours. Mine's too tight. Izuku was slightly blushing and says, yeah, I noticed. Ida then asks if they're going to be using the same city as they used for the entrance exams, and All Might says they are going to have an indoor battle. And he says, even though usually villains attacks happen outside, they usually like to fight inside so they can hold like hostages or lurk in the shadows. It usually gives heroes a disadvantage, so today we'll be separating into separate groups of villains and heroes for a 2-on-2 team battle. Then they drew lots to decide their teammates, and Izuku got paired up with Uraraka, and when Bakugou heard that he would be going up against Izuku's team, he was just hyped as hell. Now before the test started, we're gonna go to Bakugou and Ida, and they were getting ready and trying to decide on how to do things. However, Bakugou was completely incoherent, as he cared about nothing else but beating Izuku. Bakugou then says, damn Deku, not everyone is watching us, I'll humiliate you. Ida then says, hey, don't start getting any ideas, you should protect the bomb. Bakugou then says, why the hell should I listen to you? You're another one of Deku's underlings. Ida then says, you're delusional. Bakugou gets furious at this and starts walking away because he doesn't have time to concern himself with a 4 eyes because he has to go finish something. Now we go back to Izuku and Uraraka as they start to enter the building. As soon as they do, Izuku says to follow him because he knows where they're supposed to be going. Uraraka then says, what do you mean? Izuku then says, oh, I have another quirk, it lets me see anything within a 1-mile radius. And she says, that's awesome. Wait, you have 2 quirks? Izuku then says, yes, but you can't tell anyone yet. Also, I have a little present for you, but it won't last long. He then touches Uraraka's forehead and her eyes shine pink and she feels a surge of power. She then asks, what did you do? Everyone watching on the screen is confused about what Izuku just did, and they start to wonder if this guy has another quirk. Momo then says, maybe it's an enhancement quirk. That also applies to others, not just himself. That must be why he's so strong. All Might then thinks, she's a sharp one, isn't she? Everyone having heard what Momo said will start to debate about this, and we go back to Izuku, who started explaining what he did. And he said, I enhanced you for 1 hour. You have the ability to control someone else's gravity without needing to touch them, but you also need to stay close to them. So now you can basically crush someone under their own gravity, not just make them float. You can also make them lose balance like usual by making them float, but yeah, that's about it. And you don't get motion sickness anymore. Uraraka is dumbfounded at this, and she says, you can enhance quirks? Izuku then says, kind of. I can enhance myself too, and that's why I'm so strong. I'm not really allowed to do this often, so it's bad that everyone just saw me. Remember, just don't tell them anything that I did. Uraraka then nods aggressively as they start walking towards the approaching enemy, which is Bakugou. Pretty soon, they start to hear explosions, and out comes Bakugou popping out of the corner, and he rushes for Izuku right away. But just when he was about to throw an explosion, he just slams into the ground, unable to get up. Just like literally, imagine like that swordsman in One Piece who can like control gravity. That's how he slammed into the metal ground. Bakugou then says, how are you doing this? Izuku then says, hey, don't look at me. Then he points at Uraraka, whose eyes are shining pink, and Bakugou, as well as everyone watching, are shocked. They never knew she could manipulate gravity to such a degree. Kirishima then says, maybe Momo's right. She couldn't do that before. Izuku can enhance other people's quirks. We go back to Bakugou as he's saying, let me go, damn it. I came here to beat Deku, not you. Izuku then says that she should let him go because he'll handle him and she can go take care of the bum. Izuku then says, trust me and trust yourself. You can handle the rest without my guidance. Now go win us the competition. Uraraka then lets go of Bakugou after she's like really far away, and as soon as she does, Bakugou goes to sweep kick Izuku, but he jumps up. But this is when Bakugou sees an opening and blasts a huge explosion at him as he was in the air. Izuku then gets flown back by it, but manages to land on a wall and jumps back at him using like 10% of empower. And this speed increase surprised Bakugou as Izuku managed to get a punch in with his gauntlet and he just sent Bakugou flying. But then Bakugou caught himself. Bakugou then says, what, you're not gonna cancel my quirk like usual? Izuku then says, I don't need to. I want you to learn something from this fight. And to do that, I have to beat you fair and square. He then rushes back at Bakugou as he switches to Uraraka, and she had arrived at the place holding the bomb and was engaging in a fight with Ida. She realizes that she can't really back down and holds down Ida with gravity, like with all her strength, and Ida tries to fight this by pushing more fire from his engines and using his reciprocal burst, but it isn't working and he has to go even further beyond. And while he's struggling, Uraraka starts running to the bomb and Ida watches her running. So he couldn't give up and starts to try and like move as much as he could right now. But just before he could reach her, she managed to finally touch the bomb. She falls to the ground, as does Ida. Ida then says, next time I'll win. Uraraka then says, I'll be waiting. And then Bakugou and Izuku hear All Might say that the hero team had won. Up to this point, the two had been duking it out fiercely. Unfortunately, Bakugou couldn't really keep up because Izuku's weapon made his punches even stronger than usual, even though he wasn't going full power. Everyone who was watching the fight were just impressed, and they were just as impressed with Ida and, Uraraka's fight because they never thought she could, bring it like that. Izuku then says, well, you lost the fight and the competition. Sorry, this time you can't complain, buddy. Bakugou then says, shut up. I haven't shown my final weapon yet. He then puts his arm up as energy starts to concentrate in his grenade and he's holding onto the pin. All Might then says through the speakers, young Bakugou, stop right this instant. The fight is over. Bakugou then says, I don't care. I'm gonna win today, one way or another. He then releases the pin out of the grenade as a huge explosion erupts through the hall with Izuku getting caught in it. Everyone saw this and was in a panic. All Might could no longer watch, and he starts to head into the building. Uraraka and Ida also heard the explosion and were worried, so they headed to the fight as well with as little energy as they had left. When they all arrived, they saw Izuku fine, standing straight, but a bit of his costume was burned off, and Bakugou was on his knees, in shock. Bakugou then says, how? Just how did you? Izuku then says, it doesn't matter, just stop. He then leaves, walking past All Might, who felt very mad at himself. All Might then says, come on young Bakugou, it's time for some feedback. Maybe you can learn something from this. We now go to when all the students are gathered up and they're asking Izuku if he's really okay. And as for Bakugou, he can talk to anybody and no one wanted to talk to him. Nobody really knew how to react to how he acted and it suddenly got very, very quiet. Then All Might speaks up. Before anything, I would like to apologize, young Midoriya. I should have stepped in sooner. Izuku then says, it's fine, I survived, it's all good. Let's get to reviewing the fight already, stop being such drama queens. Hearing how unbothered Izuku was from the whole incident, everyone else just calmed down as they got back into reviewing the fight. And one of the things they talk about most was how surprising it was that Uraraka could use her quirk the way she did, because it made a big difference in the outcome. And Momo in the end just ended up lecturing everybody and assessing everybody and just dissing Bakugou and like a bit of Izuku because she still gotta talk some shit about everybody, equality. And in the end, she made All Might feel very incomplete as a teacher. And after this, the other fights went on as Uraraka talked to Izuku. Uraraka then says, so I'm gonna lose this power, huh? Izuku then says, no, you can keep it for now, but you have to keep improving. I didn't just enhance you. I brought out your latent potential. In a few years, this is what you would have eventually. You were gonna reach this type of power. So feel proud, okay? Hearing this makes Uraraka cry a bit, making Izuku a bit flustered, and like all the girls who noticed came over asking why he made her cry, and Izuku said, "I didn't, she just looks really happy, see?" Then they see her big smile as she cries, and Mina says, "Oh, those are tears of joy." And then all of a sudden, all of them got the urge to cry with her, and they pull Izuku into a group hug, and this makes Mineta and Kaminari really jealous. And soon the day ends with Bakugou starting to leave home, silent and feeling just beaten. And while he's going out, Izuku stops him. "You know, you're gonna have to learn eventually. This wasn't gonna work out the way you wanted it to." Bakugou then says, "Just let me go home, loser." Izuku then says, "No, you're gonna stand there and listen to me. This is the real world. These people actually have good quirks, not like back in junior high, where you could basically beat everyone but me. It bothers you, doesn't it? That ice kid got in here without even needing to take the test, just like that girl. She pointed out all of your flaws, as well as some of my own. Well, you know what? Deal with it. It's about time you realize what I've been telling you all these years. You just got lucky, and so did I. Not destined for anything. Stop thinking you're better than everybody else." Izuku then starts to leave as All Might sees how all his students are really gonna need a better teacher, and 3 times now he couldn't act like an actual teacher, so he's determined to be better and stop the fighting, in the infighting class. And while all this is happening, an insidious plot is being brewed behind the scenes. This is of course being orchestrated by our favorite League of Villains, and that's actually where I'm gonna leave it off. So in the end, I couldn't make it to 1 hour. Damn it. Well, I guess like me talking to you guys counts as part of the video, but it's not part of the story, and I'm still not gonna reach 1 hour with this. Anyway, yeah, I hope you guys like this. I know that it came really late, and I know that I pushed it back a lot, but I just couldn't take it anymore. If the microphone's not gonna work, fuck it, I don't care anymore. It legitimately made me so mad I was gonna freaking slam into the freaking wall, I swear to God. Anyway, I'm gonna go and do some assignments, but before that, you guys might be a little bit weirded out by some things, and I'm gonna explain them right now. For one, the reason why the kids didn't mention Izuku's quirk after the testing was because even though he seemed like he didn't care, it'd be weird to ask that of someone who almost just died. That's not normal, even in that society. And also, only Bakugou and like certain people in his Izuku's junior high knows he can cancel quirks. And Bakugou and Izuku intend to keep it that way because one, Bakugou thinks that it gives him leverage because he's the only one who knows like he can do this and he can do that, so he can prepare for himself. But other enemies who might want to one-up him can't. And Izuku just doesn't want people to know about his, powers and too many quirks. And speaking of that, the reason why Izuku let everyone see like him enhancing Uraraka is because he's gonna let it play along and explain later that he can actually just enhance everything, including his own strength, as well as enhance other people's quirks and them in general. So I think that's gonna make a lot of sense. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I know I didn't make it to 1 hour, okay, but this is still a special. Leave a like below and share this with anybody else who might like what ifs. Turn on your post notifications, and I'm not really gonna set a like goal for this one. Whatever you guys like, how many likes you guys get this up to, is just gonna tell me how much you like it. I'm not gonna set anything this time because I'm also afraid you guys are gonna get up to high and then destroy my hopes by saying I should cancel it. So yeah, I'm gonna start working on the other series now. Yeah, I'm also gonna go watch Supernatural and catch up to Haikyuu, 7 Deadly Sins. I have so much shit to catch up on. Well, I'm gonna go now. See you guys in a few. Probably not.